Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the weekly comic book roundup. And we're wrapping things up with this week's Batman books. To kick things off, we've got Batgirls number 9. Where we left off, the Batgirls had gotten quite a few, more than a few W's. They took down Spellbinder and Tudor, took down the Saints as well. So we begin with Grace Malloy. Doing her podcast now, or Grace O'Halloran, not Malloy, O'Halloran, Grace O'Halloran, doing her podcast, Times of Grace, as she's lost her job as a news reporter, but she's reporting from the Hill, the Hill district of Gotham City. And singing the praises of the Batgirls. The next day, Babs is meeting with Alicia, and a part of it is Alicia's checking on Babs, making sure that she's doing all right, and. Bad news when she still has bad days. Her spinal implant's pretty new tech. No guarantee it'll last forever, and she doesn't want to take anything for granted. But Cass, meanwhile, is checking out the bookstore and has discovered the works about Edgar Allan Poe. While Stephanie is keeping an eye on Mr. Green, whom she suspects of being the killer roaming the Hill. However, she's doing so from the comfort of a inflatable pool on the roof of their building, since Gotham summers have a tendency to be hot. Anyway, that night, a trap is laid for KG Beast by the Batgirls, and they take him down. It's yet another moment of the Bat family getting some additional revenge on KG Beast for what he did to Nightwing. During everything, however, Steph falls from the building onto a dumpster and discovers a bag full of mannequin parts and Mr. Green dead. Meaning he's not the killer that on the Hill. With GCPD en route, they've got not that much time to collect evidence, but it's noted that apparently Mr. Green had a false eye. At least he did. A false eye was left in his eye socket. The Batgirls leave one of their batarangs behind to basically take credit for catching KG Beast. And Steph's kind of feeling a little put out because she was so convinced that the killer was Mr. Green, and in fact, it's not. They take a look at the eye, and it's apparent it has a seam, meaning it's holding something. Appears to be a cipher. And which leads us to believe that perhaps the killers were leaving clues the entire time. Though Barbara Barbara says that that's impossible to know for certain. GCPD's been holding their cards close to the vest with this case. And so Steph and Cass suggest Babs hacked them. And Babs agrees she could. But that doesn't mean she should. But she'll sleep on it. In the meantime, their priority, however, is cracking the code. However, they're being watched from across the way by Killer Moth, who flies away, and that is where the issue ends. I figured I didn't figure that Green would try to be the killer. It was too obvious. You know, kind of you bring it up and that maybe this guy's the killer. Like, oh, so he's not. Okay, but I didn't expect him to end up becoming a victim. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got I Am Batman number 12. Where we left off, the next Batman met another member of the mass crime fighting community. The Question. Well, one of them. This one in particular being Renee Montoya, the commissioner of the Gotham City Police Department, who is being offered the position of commissioner in the NYPD. But it turns out she's looking into the death of Anarchy. And while the person who had been arrested for killing Anarchy was acquitted on account of the fact that when he shot Anarchy had already been killed. And it happened during the magistrate's time, and so things kind of get swept under the rug. So, let's just not discuss what happened during all that. Meanwhile, in Washington Square Park, one of Jason's sisters sees a mugging and almost intervenes. And that night, however, Batman and The Question talk with Detective Chubb, who investigated Anarchy's murder, and where everything comes up that the stuff that happened during Fear State was kind of just pushed aside, and don't talk about it. We don't. It's not talked about. It's not talked about by the PD. Then maybe they can keep it not talked about by anybody else. Later, Jace has a video call with his father, asking about The Question, and that's when Jace learns that there are two questions. Then his sister has a run-in with one of the people at the Fox Family Impact Fund Jobs Training Center, and tries to help, but kind of screws up. Later that night, the next Batman and The Question go to speak to Morris Caulfield, who had been arrested during Fear State for killing Anarchy. And The Question is able to talk him down and actually get information from him. But Vol finds a group called the Rest of Us, a collective of activists. Some say are radicals, and so that apparently anarchy was connected to in New York. But apparently Detective Whitaker's got some issues. While Batman in question catch up with the Rest of Us. Get apparently a one of the organizers of the group, Danny Chan, was organizing protests out in Gotham, which led to him being targeted by the police in New York. He was eventually found beaten to death. And so, Batman in question discussed what they're going to do, and it seems as though the best course of action is looking through the NYPD records, which the question could potentially do. Apparently, there are a lot of paper records to go through. However, later on, Tiffany tries to make into mending fences with the young woman whom she tried to help earlier. And that night, the question informs Batman just who it was that Danny Chan was picked up by a specific squad of NYPD officers. The squad run by Detective Keenan, the same detective that Chubb shot to stop him from shooting either Batman or Man Ray. And that is where the issue ends. I'm digging this book. I really 12 issues in, so we're a year into the book. I'm liking it. I really am. I think I like the idea of having a Batman that, you know, I like the idea of the more grounded stories. Don't get me wrong, I love the fantastical Batman stories as well, but I think that there's a good place for both, which is something I think that certain film studios could come to recognize. But anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Harley Quinn number 19. That's right, we just had another Harley Quinn issue last week. And just like last week's issue, this one has an homage variant cover, recreating the first appearance of Robin. I like how they're doing this. How they're doing these. They took the original cover. I don't remember which issue number of. I think it's Batman. It was, but the Bob Kane artwork for the cover, and just had Ryan Sook draw Harley Quinn and replace Robin with Harley. And make changes where necessary, such as, you know, adding the text on the cover of the sensational character find of 1992, Harley, the Girl Wonder. So where we left off, Harley had been recruited by Luke Fox into a kind of a interstellar Suicide Squad, but she brought a friend along with her, Solomon Grundy, and they went up in Jace's or in Luke's rocket, and but well, there's a slight problem, a missile coming towards them. So we opened at a Air Force facility. They picked up the rocket and fired the missile. Missiles incoming. None of them are entirely clear what they're going to do. The ship's on autopilot, but Dreadbolt sacrifices himself, teleports out, and destroys the missile. A eulogy. Harley gives a eulogy for him in her usual tongue-in-cheek manner, but they've got off course. So they have to burn fuel, and they only have enough. They only have so much, and because of this, the controlled landing isn't going to work. So, but Luke Fox has a visitor. His father, Lucius. Wondering just what it is that he's doing in his cabin out in the woods. But Lashina takes over piloting the shuttle. The landing is a bit rough. Becomes a bit of a vomit comet briefly, but they manage to access the old JLA watchtower. Looks like, and they're trying to find an element that's used in pretty much everything on Apocalypse within a sample within the old watchtower, but something is loose and attacks Lashina and seemingly takes her over. And that is where the issue ends. The third anniversary story is definitely getting interesting. I'm liking the group of characters they've brought together for it, and it's just it's usual fun stuff with Harley. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Batman Urban Legends number 18. Where we left off here, well, actually, I think the last issue was all wrap-ups or one-offs. So we've got, as per usual, we got 5 stories. Signal and the Outsiders Part 1, Batman and Etrigan in Blood In and Blood Out, The Pennyworth Files Chapter 1, The Fall of the Scales, Batman and Robin in Night Terrors, and then we have Belle and Beau. So starting off with Signal and the Outsiders. Signal's keeping a journal of his adventures, and it's explained that the Outsiders are now a modular team. And so we have a splash page of Robin working with the Outsiders, then Green Arrow, then Mr. Miracle. But and soon it'll be going up into space. But Signal is still trying to find his mom, and he's got the whole bulletin board thing with all the little strings linking pictures to one another. But he seems kind of preoccupied, and so. And seems to be doing a little more than just training all the time. It's training and sleeping. Black Lightning asks him if he's alright and tells him, you need anything, I'm here. So, Black Lightning approaches Batman tells him what's going on, and the outsiders kind of stage an intervention of sorts, and with Batman joining in, and he even says, he's requesting the fifth chair to find Duke's mother. No one stops until they find her. Find Elaine Thomas, bring justice to whoever took her away from her family, and no one stops until she's home safe. That's where part one ends. Next up, we've got Blood In, Blood Out. Bruce Wayne is at a one of various charitable shindigs, returning various statues to Mexico. But there are rumors that one of the pieces might be haunted. Batman brings up, and he states to the doctor who found them, that Jason Blood being in attendance, there's a definite possibility it actually is. With Blood is Randor Singh, known in the superhero community as Dr. Fate. But a group calling themselves the Reincarnators attacks. Jason summons forth Etrigan. Dr. Puentes has been hit with the energy from one of the artifacts the Reincarnators have, causing her to kind of hulk out a bit. Not in the turning green way, but yeah, turning buff though. But the Reincarnators capture Etrigan, and so Fate and Batman go to save him. But as they arrive, the Reincarnators summon another demon, Scapegoat, Etrigan's brother, who, when he was last seen, was left in hell by Etrigan and Merlin. This is before Merlin went off the deep end. But the Reincarnators are seemingly defeated. And is this the end? Well, only time will tell. Brings us to our next story. Chapter 1 of the Pennyworth Files, The Fall of the Scales. Alfred is, because since Batman is half a continent away, Alfred's taking a night to himself. Stops in a clock shop. Man walks in, smashes a vase, pulls a gun on Alfred and the shopkeeper. Takes a jade earring from within it and says something in Russian before leaving. Alfred tells the shopkeeper he'll find out what's happened. He attempts to ask Batman for assistance, but Batman's in the midst of a death trap, and so since Alfred's situation is life and death, it can wait. But he gets a translation for what the fishmonger said, then goes to the fish market. It turns out that all of the fishmongers there have at least one thing in common: tattoo of a harpoon on their neck. And so he gets a brief bit of information, but the fishmonger has seemingly been attacked, and tries to explain that there's a bomb. And the story ends with the bomb ticking down to 9 seconds. Which brings us to our next story, Night Terrors. Takes place during Tim Drake's early days as Robin. He's a nightmare of having been attacked by both Mr. Freeze and the Joker. But Bruce wakes him up. They're needed, apparently, at Arkham. Bullock explains what's going on since the commissioner's out of town. Basically, people, both inmates and employees, are asleep, but muttering and screaming, but not restfully. Batman and Robin get in. They're able to wake one of the nurses, who explains it was D, John D, aka Dr. Destiny, and he's created a new materia opticon, which he puts into use, controlling the sleepers within Arkham. But while some of them attack Robin, Bruce has a brief moment where he doesn't see Tim being attacked, but rather sees Jason being attacked by the Joker and multiple Joker goons. Apparently, he called out for Jason. Robin asks him about it, and also if Bruce wants to talk about Jason. And that is where the story ends, which brings us to our final story, Belle and Beau. We got two primary characters, Isabel Gold, who is a waitress at the Iceberg Lounge, and her boyfriend, Kevbo Navarro, who is, among other things, a door drop driver. He brings a delivery to Kite Man. Hell yeah. But talk about some of the various people that run Gotham. Roland Worth, Oswald Cobblepot, and then you got Marvin Falcone, nephew of Carmine, Farmer Bro, and Grade D-Bag. Apparently, he acquired at an auction the one and only copy of the Shaolin Squad's album, The Seven Deadly Venoms, and he's going to have an exclusive listening to it afterwards. Goes open, however, and the CD is gone. Turns out that Beau and Kev, Beau, and Isabel are grabbing a few, kind of picking the pockets of who they've got, or who the guests at the Iceberg. But Kevin uploads the torrent of the album, while Isabel thinks that the whole night was exhilarating and asks if they want to do it again. So they opt to, but they end up running in with and running the Batman. Batman simply tells them that they're playing what they're doing is very dangerous, and that the people that they've stolen from are not going to take the thefts lightly. In fact, Killer Moth shows up with the intent of taking them down, but Batman saves them and they drive off. Batman raises his grapple gun to grab them, but thinks better of it. That is where the issue ends. Interesting match throws. The Outsider one should be interesting. I'm a little bummed that that's what we're getting. We had the tease of Outsiders coming later on in the year, earlier this year, but I guess this is what we're getting, is just another Urban Legends story as opposed to a new ongoing or whatnot. I imagine that could actually be. The concept sounds like it'd be rather fun, kind of like the old Brave and the Bold team up book, or Marvel team up even. The idea being, you have your set cast, and you just have like every story a new, or just every issue a new character. The Brave and the Bold got relaunched about 15 years or so ago, and it was big. I think it was relaunched around the same time as the Batman Brave and the Bold cartoon, because it was Batman and it would always be Batman and another hero. And each issue, while the first 6 issues were all one story, each one had Batman teaming up with someone different. So, something like that with the Outsiders could be interesting. Anyway, moving on to our last book for the week, we have Future State Gotham, number 16. Where we left off, Hush, masquerading as Batman, had convinced Damian Wayne, recently returned from hell, to help him destroy Gotham. All part of Hush's plan to take over Gotham. And they had come upon the Jace Fox Batman and were attacking him, with Damian burning him with hellfire. But Jace takes a swing at Damian. And Damian seems to like the fact that his father, quote unquote, is telling him to actually kill someone. However, they're interrupted by the arrival of Jason Todd and Hunter Panic. Downtown, the rest of the Bat family is also fighting Batman. Nightwing, who's using Brain, and well, he's pretty much handing them their asses. But knocks out everyone but Barbara. And Dick tells Barbara that all of them will be his family, but he's sorry. It has to be this way. While Jason, and Hunter Panic deal with Batman and Batman, two more arrivals show up. Batman and Talia. Both Batman's Bruce Wayne and Hush both unmask to show Damian that they're really his father. And so Damian says, okay, hell with it. I'll just kill both of you. Kill them all. And he's stopped from doing so by the arrival of yet another Batman. Nightwing. And that's where the 8th story. We have a black and white backup story as well, entitled Bruce Wayne as Batman. A young woman in Arkham has doing a small cultish ritual. Wants to know the identity of Batman. And the entity she's summoned tells her that it's Bruce Wayne. One of the couple janitors are outside. New guy explains, asks what happened to the girl, and the one who's been here a while explains that, first off, The new guy's like, Bruce Wayne's Batman? Should we tell someone? The old one has been on for a while. Explains that, last month Bill Clinton was Batman. Last week it was Mick Jagger. Yesterday, it was George freaking Clooney. But apparently her deal is that the girl became obsessed with Batman. She'd pick up stranger guys, bring them up to her place, make them put on a Batman costume. When it finally sinks in that the guys ain't even close to Batman, she freaks out. She's about the window. 12 stories down. But the newer janitor thinks that the girl's story is really sad. Though the guy been there for a while, thinks it's funny, and apparently the guy says that people in Arkham don't deserve sympathy. As the one who's been on the group the longest continues on, we see that his his new coworker has left, and his coverall is crumpled up on the ground, as well as an odd demon mask. The name badge on the coverall says Malone. And that is where the issue ends. Future State is the A story in Future State Gotham is definitely getting good. I mean, it's been good all along, but yeah. Anyway, that is going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.